Hey everyone, welcome to Creating with Jazzy Bundles. Today we are going to make a triple time stamping card. This is an example of one that I have done previously. The one we're going to do today is going to be a little bit more simple. It's not going to have the stamp pad coloring, or it's not going to have any of the embossing. It's just going to be the stamping with the triple time so that you can see how that works. And then on another day, we'll show you how you can do it with the coloring in and the embossing powder. So let's get started. In order for this project, you will need the following items. You're going to need some type of a stamp pad. Today, I'm going to use my Onyx Black from Versafine. You're going to need an acrylic block for your stamp, or if you're going to use one on a wooden stamp, you won't need this, but I'm going to use my acrylic stamps. And this one, I think I got it at Tuesday Morning. I'm not really sure the brand, to be quite honest with you. I just started to organize my stamps and dies to a point where I wish I would have kept all of that information. So now I'm kind of going back and figuring out where they all were, but we're going to use this really pretty butterfly stamp today. You're also going to need a paper cutter if your paper is not already trimmed down. I just got this guillotine, but you can also use just a regular paper cutter with the knife blade or however you want to be able to cut your paper. You're also going to need some adhesives. I'm going to use a mixture of some glue dot runner. I find that this is kind of some temporary, and you'll see why that's important here in a minute. And then you'll need something more permanent. I love art glitter glue. You'll see me use it a lot on most of my projects. So we may use this. You can also use double-sided tape if you want, or you can use foam tape. For some dimension if you want your layers to pop off the card a little bit, or you can use dots, foam dots or squares. Then you're going to need two types of paper, or rather two colors of paper. My card is going to be black and white today. I thought that would be really pretty. I don't think I've ever done just a plain black and white simple card before, so that's what I wanted to try and do. So what you're going to need is two sets of paper, as I was saying. So if we separate this out, you can see I have one in black and one in white. For this card, I'm going to say that these black ones are my base layers and the white ones are my stamping layers. If you were to color them, you could do all white and just half of them you would color. You can do all kinds of crazy things, but for today's card, I'm going to do the stamping layers here in the white and the base layers in the black. So for your base layers, you need one that is 5.5 by 4 1/4. And for me, I just made that my 5.5 by 4 1/4 card. So it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, cut in half the hamburger length ways, and then folded in half, so I get my 5.5 by 4 1/4. Then you need a 5-inch by 3 3/4 inch piece and a 4.5 by 3 1/4 inch piece. And I have come to discover that you can get all three of these pieces out of one piece of cardstock. The paper that I'm using today is 65-pound cardstock from Michael's. That's what I use for most of my stuff, actually. My stamping layers, you're going to want 5 1/4 by 4 inch for the biggest one. The middle one is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2, and then a 4 1/4 by 3 inch. And you'll know if you were able to cut them all to the correct sizes, because when you layer them all together, you get this really cool design, and all the size will be equal. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get started. So all of your base layers you can just set aside. Right now we're going to work with just the stamping layers, so set aside the base layers, and I'm going to take these and we're going to temporarily glue them together. So I like to use my little glue dot runner because it comes apart fairly easily, but just a little dot in the middle, and you're going to put this layer right in the middle. And another little line of tape. This one's almost out. It made it. And then layer this one in the middle. And now, you can see, we've got 3 layers all layered on top of each other. This is how we're going to get our cool effect where we have the stamp across 3 layers. So I like to work with a piece of paper under me. You might not want to, you don't have to, you can do whatever floats your boat, but I like to. Then you're going to take your stamp, and I have found that for this particular way, at least while I'm still getting comfortable with it, a bigger stamp makes it easier for me because I can place it easier, I can fill my space easier. So maybe don't start with a teeny tiny stamp on your very first card. Try a larger, more simple image to get started with. All right, so now you're just going to place your stamp kind of wherever you want. I personally want to leave the middle a little bit more open because that's where I'm going to put my sentiment. So I think I'm going to have the butterflies mostly flying off the page. So you want to make sure that they go in all 3 layers. Push firmly because your 3 layers are slightly different heights, right? So you want to make sure that you get across all 3 layers. And come off. It's okay. Don't worry about the fact that it's kind of, I've heard somebody call this like a halo effect, where they don't always line up exactly, or it's a little bit off like this. Don't even stress that, I promise. By the time we're done with this, you're not really going to see that, and it's going to be so pretty. I'm going to have one coming in this way. One video that I watched one time said to leave your stamp on the paper for a few seconds. It gives it time for the ink to transfer over to the paper. And since I have been doing that, I have found that my stamps come out a whole lot better. So, a little tidbit for you. Well, we'll make this one go up this way. And be careful you don't rock your stamp back and forth. Your lines won't come out very crisp that way. So you want to be careful of that. That one's really good. And I'm all about some symmetry, so I got to have something down in this little corner over here. We'll have him mostly on. And you could do as many as you want. You could do fewer than this if you want to, but whatever floats your boat. Whatever makes you happy. Ta-da. All right, with that, I'm gonna clean off my stamp real quick. I personally use a couple different methods to clean my stamps. I have this really cool removes it ink cleaner, stamp cleaner, and you just basically take off the lid and put it all over it, and then you just dab it with your paper towel. That works really, really, really well. I also will use baby wipes. I just started doing that recently, and that works really nicely because it's really quick and you can reuse the same wipe for quite a while. I also personally, after I'm done for the day with stamping, I'll take all of my stamps and my acrylic pads and I will take them into the bathroom and use some Dawn dish soap and just clean them all the way off so that they're nice and clean and ready to go for the next day. So you always want to make sure that you clean off your stamp pads. So now you can see we have our set of 3 with our stamps on them, and now it's time to put them on the bases. So if we carefully take our 3 layers off, now we can take our bases rather, and adhese them on. So I'm going to start with the smallest one. I'm going to use my art glitter glue because, as I mentioned, I really love my art glitter glue. It's my favorite adhesive. You can use it on paper, which is great. You can use it on sequins and other stuff like that without a problem. It's not an issue. And I will say that this comes, you can purchase this metal tip, and it comes with a pin, which I usually just kind of keep inside of it. Unfortunately, my pin broke last week. I haven't replaced it yet, so I'm just keeping the original lid on it for now. I'm almost at the bottom of this one, so when I finish it off, I'll just get a new tip and pin. All right, so, and also you don't need a lot of this glue, which is another reason why I like it. It doesn't really need a lot at all, and it sticks. Awesome. Now, it does not have a lot of playing time. I will give you that. Once you're down, you're pretty much down, but it moves a little bit, just not a whole lot. All right, so there's one layer. Here's another. If it's not perfect, that's okay. It's a handmade card. They're not supposed to be perfect. At least that's what I tell myself. It does at least need to be somewhat in the middle, though. It does tend to help. All right, if you're going to put yours in the middle. All right, now comes the puzzle game, where you got to line up your pieces so that the butterflies match. Make sure you do that before you start gluing everything together. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue. Your butterflies or whatever your shape is not going to line up. For this particular card, or at this point, you could use some 3-dimensional things. So you could use your dots, your foam dots. You could use your foam tape and make each of the layers kind of pop off a little bit. I'm just going to glue them all down. Find it's easier. A lot of my cards I end up sending through the mail, and I find it's easier to get them in and out of envelopes and arrive unsquished if I don't use the foam pieces in between. And our last layer. I mentioned this is almost gone. We're at the very tail end of it. Very, very tail end. Okay. And there you have it. Now you can put a sentiment on it if you wanted to, or really whatever you wanted to do. So I am going to add a little bit of a sentiment. I have these sentiments that I think will look really pretty if I can get it off. I think it'll go nicely. I have some scraps right here of black and white. So with that, I guess I'm going to bring over my scissors real quick. And you can see me do that. I just recently switched over to using a cutting mat instead of the acrylic mats. And I really, really like it so far. So. You'll notice it's much quieter than when you use the acrylic blocks or the acrylic pieces that they come with. And my black piece stuck to my mat here. That's it. All right. I think I got, or I know I got this happy set, or this, I should say really the sentiment set, because it has hello and thanks and wish and happy and smile. I got them on Amazon actually not too long ago. It's a recent purchase for me. I went with the black and white, just like I did for the rest of the card. That'll look pretty. Now we got to get my glue to work again. And that's one reason why I love this little tip, is because I'll be able to put the glue on these thin letters here, and it'll work really, really, really nicely. I'll be done here. Just a second, sorry. It comes out nice and thin. There's that. Now we can glue it onto the card. When I go to mail this card out, I will put a piece of white cardstock on the inside so that I can write on it. Unless for some reason you have a silver pen or a white pen or something like that. To write on the black, but I just think it looks really nice if I use put a piece of white cardstock in there on the inside. Not this one, obviously, but something on the inside. And I would cut that at this 5 1/4 by 4 inch, just like our first layer of the stamping is here. So it'll sit just inside like that. And just like that, we have our triple time stamp card. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you had a great time and I had fun with you. I look forward to the next time on Creating with Jazzy Bundles.